around the corner. It's super exciting to have hackathon around the corner. It's always fun to build something new, at least for me. So I'm hoping I'm hoping the objective of this is more like a fun experience overall, and in the process, getting to learn something new as well. So in this short set of slides, I just want to talk about generally AI and what you could build with AI and automations together. So we can go about it in a couple of ways, right? But if you take AI, there are a lot of very fundamental things that you could do with it. You could take documents, images, videos, audio, or plain text. These are the kind of inputs. You could extract information from that. You could tag products, or you could tag any kind of material with certain tags, and then those tags are used downstream in a lot of processes. You could automate this process of tagging, which will open up a lot of use cases. There's a lot of forms processing, documents processing. You should be aware of document understanding from our side. So anything that you do with extracting data out of documents will open up a lot of use cases for you. There's a lot of types of classification. I've talked about sentiment classifiers here, and another one is not safe for work. So there is a lot of companies focus on anything that is user generated has to pass through a filter of whether it's safe to display or not safe to display on different kinds of websites. So that's the classifier that could help you do that. There is a lot of decision automation based on like demand, pricing, inventory management, fraud and credit risk assessments, and all of that in all kinds of industries, right? We'll talk about the specific industries in the next slide, but these are kind of fundamental use cases which would apply across all of most industries at least. So and then there are recommender systems based on all the tags, based on all the information that you extracted. You could personalize a product for a user. You could look at similarity between products and all of that. And generative AI, I've not even gotten to listing things because it kind of opens up a whole lot of use cases, right? So there's no point trying to say generative AI kind of opens up these use cases because it's pretty new. Everyone is trying to imagine new things with it, and we would like to see a lot of generative AI based solutions as well. So this slide basically is to give you an understanding of the fundamental AI operations, if you can call it, that would enable you to build use cases around it and a solution for Hack Week. The next slide actually talks about a little bit more industry specific ones. So everything that we saw on the last slide can be applied to different industries. If you take the general one, any kind of customer can have a need on invoices, receipts, KYC documents on passport or license and so on. And then the financial services and insurance industries, they have like specific kind of forms or documents to process. Apart from forms, documents, and information extraction, you have also the fraud detection and credit risk decisions kind of use cases as well. So that kind of sums up the BFSI kind of an industry. And then there's human resources, who'd look into HR, employee onboarding, resumes, and processing all of that. Manufacturing is interesting. It has two sides. It has the documents processing in terms of all the sales orders, purchase receipts, and all of that. It also has visual elements. If you want to do quality control on the products that you manufacture, or if you want to do maintenance on your machines, that is something that's image-based AI as well on manufacturing side of things. Retail again is a lot of image plus document-oriented ones. You'll do a lot of e-commerce websites have a lot of spam, duplicate product filtering, and all of that. If you could improve recommendations in retail products, that works greatly towards increasing order value, cart value, and directly impacting revenue as well. And then there's healthcare, where again there is a combination of documents and images. Images for disease diagnosis and all of that, documents for a little bit more of like medical bills, prescriptions, and so on. So this is not exhaustive. This is just something to give you some ideas towards what could be good solutions or use cases that would directly impact a certain industry. This is a starting point. Just feel free to go beyond this into what you're building. Any questions, anything generally on AI? I have one last slide about specifically for the hack as to what we're looking for and some pointers on how you should think about it. But I want to pause here. If you had any questions on AI Center, if you had any questions on use cases, anything that you want to ask.
Does anybody have any question related to what Shankar has presented so far? I don't know, maybe one of you has planned a use case scenario out of these industry sectors, and maybe you would like to look into it a bit.
Yeah, if you have something that you're working on, if you just want to get some thoughts on it, I'm happy to do that as well. Or if you have general questions, if you're not started, if this helps you get some ideas and you want to talk more about that, I'm open to that as well.
Nobody? No questions? Okay, if everyone is good, we can go on, and you will have, of course, occasion to the opportunity to ask questions later on the HyperHack as well, to Shankar as well, and to Nisarg, of course.
Okay. Sure. So this is the last slide. I just want to highlight one other thing. There's a lot of difference between AI in theory and AI in practice. We could call out, putting together the last slide was really easy because I could just say this is a use case. But when it comes to implementing that, you realize a lot of challenges in doing it, different kinds of challenges, right? A model might not be performant, your data might not be clean enough, and all of that. What we'd like to see is to see what worked for you, as well as what didn't work for you. And if you did some intelligent hacks or workarounds around the issues that you faced, we'd love to hear of that. For anything that you're building, make sure you show some performance numbers, make sure you show some results. What we would like to take away from the hack is also that if you implement something and you talk about it, it should be easy for someone to replicate that and try to build on top of that. So if you give some numbers and results, people will try it out and say, okay, hey, I'm able to get to that state, let me build on top of that, and so on. So that's the objective of the hack itself, and then being able to build on each other's work later on. So I'd encourage you to make it as real world as possible, as functional as possible, and show what you've implemented, show some results, show some performance numbers. If something is low on performance, that's okay. There's a lot of learning from that as well. And you could tell us how you worked around that issue. Okay. And feel free to use ML models from anywhere. I know we have some from UiPath itself, out of the box models and things that you can train, but you could bring your own model. We have ways to upload AI models from different other sources into AI Center. So think about that. Think about integrating with some external platforms as well. We do support connectors to OpenAI, to AWS SageMaker. I'm sure there are connectors to Microsoft and Google as well. So explore those options. You're not limited by the models that are available on AI Center or the document understanding models or the communications mining platform and so on. You could bring any model into this ecosystem for the hack itself. Okay. And one last thing, it's not always about new use cases when it comes to AI. AI could augment an existing workflow that you have. It could improve an existing workflow. Let's say you have a workflow wherein a human has to be part of the loop, and you use AI to decrease the amount of time the human has to validate something. That's a great use case. You could improve an existing model's performance with newer kind of data. Like, for example, if you were processing a receipt with just the document processing, but then you realize that there are logos on that, you could use images to capture the logos and then use that data into improving the processing as well, right? So a lot of things, a lot of use cases will open up when you think about not just text data, not just document data, not just image data, but when you combine all of this, you'll open up newer use cases as well. So think about that for ideas as well. If you want to bounce some ideas off, just post on the forums, or you could reach us through the Hack team, and we'll be happy to answer or help you with something.
Okay. Thank you very much, Shankar. So let's see now if there are any questions, especially on the product side, before because Shankar will have to leave us for the second part of the session. So if there are any questions regarding the products you plan to use or anything from the presentation so far. Let's see if there are any questions around that. So we have all the clarifications there. Or you can just tell us what you're planning to use so far and get an opinion on that as well. So consultations are also welcome. Okay. You can ask in the chat as well. So if you're shy and you feel like you want to ask this question later, you can ask in the chat till the end of the session. I will share the screen a bit now, just to walk you a bit through the HyperHack for 1 minute, and then we will start with Nisarg. Till I'm finished, you can see whether you have any questions for Shankar before he drops off. Maybe you will not be so shy after I'm finished. So this is the full program page for the HyperHack 2023. And today, this enablement session is especially focused and targeting our first category, which is AI-powered automation solutions. So the HyperHack this year is, of course, centered around AI-powered automation. Then this is our first category. Our second category is innovation for core business automation solutions. You are welcome to participate just in one category, or if you really feel up to it, you can also submit use cases for both of the categories in the HyperHack. The product listing which we have placed here in the first category is the one that we are sure of that you can access in terms of product accessibility without commercial license. So this is what we know you can for sure access through the community version, also through trial version. So if you have any questions around this is why I said, let's bring out those questions now so we have all the clarifications. There are other options, of course, like communications, mining, and so on, but those are not accessible to everyone. So this is why this is our public offering for this category. You also have here the UiPath integration activities, which are open for this category, which we strongly encourage you to use. And we also have some inspiration and some inspiration around challenges as well listed in the category. Some more facts about the HyperHack, which I think you're already familiar with. We have a list of resources on the program page, of course. You have some data about the characteristics of the team. So you can participate as an individual, but you can also build a team of maximum 4 people. Teams can be mixed, so it doesn't matter. They can be from like consultants and enterprise people, different companies, customer and partner mixed teams. So nobody we don't have any criteria for that for the people who make up the team. We have some rules and regulations, of course, but the most important thing for you to follow now is the hackathon timeline. And the most important date coming up is July 14th, the date when we are closing registrations, end of day. And without a registration until July 14th, you will not be able to submit your use case until July 24th. So we strongly encourage you to plan your time so as you can register, at least register in time, and then you have to plan your submission by July 21st. This is why we have this buffer week in between, so you can actually work on your solution a bit more. Of course, the awards are for each of the categories. So we have these awards in each of the categories. First prize is $4.5K dollars, and then you have here the second and the third prize. We have a certificate for all the finalists, and we will also have UiPath certification vouchers given to all the finalists in the HyperHack. This we have not added yet, but it will be an added value on the finalist part. We have one more enablement session later today. It's on the America time zone, so it might be a bit late for some of you. But if you want to register and join it, you are more than welcome to. The enablement sessions are global and open to everyone. And here you have also the judging criteria, so you know a bit about how the solution will be evaluated through the evaluator's eyes and maybe also by the jury. So you can, when planning and designing your solution, you can look at these criteria to make sure that you have captured and you have addressed it in your solution. And some submission guidelines. Here you have the whole pack on how to submit, how to upload your solution. And if there are any questions, you can always follow up with us on this dedicated forum thread. I will just paste the link now in chat again. Okay, so this is it about HyperHack 2023 in a very fast nutshell. And now I will let Nisarg follow up if you don't have any questions in between. So are there any questions so far about the HyperHack or for Shankar's presentation? Hello, Peko.
Hello, Christina.
Oh, sorry. Go on, Peko.
Hi, Bobby. If you are our Bobby, I don't know.
Yeah, I am. I think I was the second one wanted to ask a question, so I'll shut up.
Okay, no. Ask, please, Bobby. Ask away.
Okay. It's just a quick one, really, about the. So I've seen the products listed there, and what I want to build is I'm gonna use data service as well. I assume that's it's not a problem to use something that's not in the list.
No, you can definitely use, yeah, for sure.
Perfect, great, and then
the list is not limited. The list is like the opt-ins for the AI category, but you don't have to limit yourself to those products. And I think this is mentioned.
Yeah,
there.
maybe it is, and I didn't pay attention. Classic me. The other thing is, yeah. So I've seen the presentation deck. I assume it's like the last year. There's many moving parts in the thing that I want to build. So probably there's like some custom connectors and things like those. How are we gonna enable the judges access to our environment, or how are we gonna do that?
I will let either Shankar or Nisarg address that question because I'm not technically qualified to answer it.
Yeah, no worries.
No, I think couple of things. If your demo shows that, I think that a video demo of it working, that's good enough to start with. The whole solution needs to be executable, but if there are connectors and if you're able to share access or auth to that, it would be great. But if not, that's okay. As long as on your demo we're able to see it work.
Okay, makes sense.
So yeah, basically, Bobby, whatever you have as in a presented solution should be something that you can actually play from a video presentation. Then this is something that we recommend you to have also as backup. So if you make it in the finalists and you go into the live finale, we recommend everyone to have a recorded version of the presentation as a backup in case anything goes wrong during those 7 minutes that they will have for the live presentation. If anything goes wrong around that time, you can always fall back on the video recording and play your presentation as you intended to for the jury. So just think of it like that. It should all be cased in a video recording, so you don't need to go in the back end much more.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Who else had a question? Because Bobby said he was second. I think no, Peko was just saying hello, so I don't think he had a question. Peko, do you have any questions? I don't think he does. Okay, let's. Okay, thank you very much, Shankar. Then from
No, please. I do not have any question. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Shankar, for joining us today and taking the time. If there are any more questions following up on the forum thread, we'll address them to you and ask for your help again. Let's continue now with Nisarg, following up to what Shankar presented and also around some best practices when constructing your use case and solution for this category. Thank you, Shankar.
Thank you, Christina.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck with your hacks.
Thank you, Shankar, for joining. Okay, so to get started, let me introduce myself first. So my name is Nisarg Kadam. So I'm currently working in Singapore, and majority of my experience belongs in the category of AI projects and AI-enabled projects, I would say, in automation. Thank you, Mike. So to get started with the best practices in AI, this is one of my most favorite topic to talk about, and I can keep talking about it like for the whole day. So if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, or if you want to know more about what I'm speaking, right, you can just stop me at any point, ask any questions, or just bring in chat so I can take that questions later. So let's start with a very beginning initial point when we actually start any AI enabled project. So why this point is very important, because it is usually, so currently when we see the ecosystem of automation is designed in such a way that even AI products has been made very easy for use. So you can very easily use component of AI project or AI product, for example, communications mining, AI center, document understanding, clipboard AI. You can use it very easily, or Forms AI, right? And you can just plug and play within your automation, and it looks pretty much easy and very nice and clean to use. However, there are a couple of things which matters a lot when it comes to getting started with AI-enabled project. And that's where we will talk about a little bit. And then we'll talk about the products and how you can align the best practices. So first of all, the most important thing is input data for your machine learning model. So before starting any AI-enabled project or any machine learning enabled projects, the most important thing is preparing your input data. Because the entire model, if it is going to be a trained model, it always depends on how well you clean your data or prepare your data. So the best practices to do that is, first of all, data cleaning, right? So make sure that there is no duplicates, there is no irrelevant data, there's no inconsistent data points. You have handled all the missing values by either at least imputing them, or maybe considered appropriate strategies to remove the blank data, or maybe you have replaced that with some kind of values. Then if you go to UiPath product, which is AI Center, and if you go to documentation of any specific model, which actually uses features and in a combination of data. So in that case, what you have to do is always make sure that your feature selection is always in such a way that your feature is very easily able to give out your significant target value. So what is feature and what is target? Okay. So if you have seen, usually what we do to train any AI model or ML model, what we do is we upload data to the data sets. And the data which we upload is usually in 80-20 ratio, right? So for example, if I want to train particular model with 1000 data points, then I divide it as 800 rows for training and 200 rows for testing the model, right? So train test data always has to be 80-20 ratio, because that is one of the best ratios. But a couple of people have their own perspective. So few of the data scientists use 70-30, few of the data scientists use 80-20. So there's always a fight on that. But 80-20 is one of the best ratios that I have till now found useful with AI Center. Now, data cleaning is basically not part of UiPath AI Center. So that's why it is one of the best practice to check your data very carefully before you move ahead with using AI Center, right? Then feature selection. So when I say feature selection, it is identifying most relevant feature to actually getting your target value significantly. That means, for example, if you are planning to use a model which automatically predicts, let's say, a disease based on your symptoms. Now, your symptoms, what you have, those all symptoms are features, and your prediction to be predicted disease is your target value. Now, if your feature data is always giving you specific target value, then you have to have at least 5 points of each target value in the features. So your data is pretty accurately trained. So you should not have a lot of discrepancy in the data, right? So that is also one most important point. Stop me at any point if you have any questions, okay, on this. So feature selection is a very important thing. Then feature encoding. Now, what is feature encoding? So feature encoding is basically transforming your entire categorical variable into numerical representation, because that's always the best for any machine learning model. So if you have seen any TPOT models, which is TPOT, AutoML regression, you name regression, you name classification. In both the cases, making sure your data is encoded is very, very important, because even the models, if you go to the documentation of TPOT AutoML, even the model says, before you train this particular model, make sure your features are encoded. That means your feature values are in numerical format and not in text format, right? So when you encode your features, what happens is this may involve techniques such as, one-hot encoding. This may involve label encoding. This may involve ordinal encoding. So basically, one-hot encoding leads to converting values to numerical based on the binary numbers, right? So one-hot encoding refers to the binary. Labeling encoding is also something which you can actually do, right, to make sure that your data is in numerical format. So I'm talking about AI center best practices here, where you are properly using AI center models and training them, right? And once you have all these three things done, before you create any ML model, before you train any ML model, you also need to check handling imbalanced data. For example, there are a couple of empty rows, right? There are majority classes. For example, you are training a text classification model, and for training a text classification model, out of 10 classes, you have, like, let's say 700 rows for one class and 50 rows for another class. That's actually a very imbalanced data to train. Even that applies for cases of document understanding. So when we talk about document understanding projects, usually what happens, if we label documents for a specific format of vendor or invoice too much, let's say 200 vendors we have labeled for one of the vendor format, and for other vendor format we have labeled only 10 or 20. Then obviously the data which is trained heavily for one of the vendor format will be impacting the results of the other invoice vendor, right? So that is called as handling imbalanced data. So whenever you go for any AI enabled projects, any ML included projects, always make sure that your data is properly balanced and it is not imbalanced. So we always make sure that the benchmarking of the input data is done properly before you train any specific model. Then the next thing which is to take care about, and which is one of the best practices for any AI enabled projects, is data splitting. Now, data splitting, as I've already told you, my preferred way of data splitting is 80-20, but many different data scientists have different opinions on this one, but 80-20 is one of the best ratio to follow. And then cross-validation. So majority of the models have train and test, or you can say train and evaluation pipeline, right? Also full pipeline. So what are these pipelines, right? So if you're very new to UiPath AI Center, the training pipeline is just to train that specific model on your data. And testing pipeline or evaluation pipeline is to evaluate what you have trained, and then your evaluation result is generated. So the result which is generated, which is the evaluation result, is based on the evaluation data set and how accurately your model has predicted the values for the evaluation data set. And based on that, the percentage amount is generated, right? And that is very much important for any of the ML model, except for task mining, because task mining doesn't want you to actually evaluate, it just wants you to train, right? So yeah, one more product, task mining. Why can't you use task mining, right? So task mining is also AI-enabled product of UiPath, which you can actually use to detect or find any process. And you can showcase that we have used AI-enabled product to identify a whole process out of a very busy scheduled department or BDU, right? Perfect. Then after cross-validation and everything, right, you finally do the handling outliers. So handling outliers is one of, again, major important key factor of any ML project, which is detect, handle the outliers in the data appropriately. That means techniques such as trimming, or you can say, using robust methods to manage your outliers, right? So outliers are pretty much like models skew data, and checking your predictions, and checking what is the impact of this prediction and what is the performance. So sometimes you see 90% accuracy. Now what happens, let's say if you have trained your data on 200 odd rows, right? And out of these 200 odd rows, your data is very much linear. It's not, not non-linear data. It's very much linear, like a synthetically generated data. So for synthetically generated data, you will always get 99-95% accuracy, which is not that good based on the ML model usability. So in that cases, what happens usually is that you try to test it for variety of data, and basically it fails because you have not trained it properly. So handling outliers is pretty much important, because do not directly move from implementing model to using it in the production. But obviously for the hackathon purpose, we can use it at a certain level where we can actually, use the models as many times as you want and train the models as many times as you want, right? That's because it's the hackathon and you can demonstrate. But if you are handling any live customer during this hackathon, and if you want to actually present a use case which is going to be deployed at some point, then these points are pretty much important. Amazing. And then finally coming to point. Okay, also feel free to ask any questions. If you have any questions on the points which I have talked about till now. Any questions?
No questions
Okay.
so far. Everyone already used the best practices. Everyone knew everything. And okay. But just remember, if you don't feel like asking your questions live, please put them in the chat or on the forum thread. Yes. So no worries, you can ask the questions during this session or afterwards. So just feel free to ask questions at any time. What's important is for you to feel that you are supported all the way through until July 21st, when you're submitting your solution, hopefully.
Thank you, Christina. So I'll continue with the points. Okay, amazing. So once we have handled outliers and we have handled everything, right? Your model is almost ready, up and go. You have a couple of more points. So sometimes handling time series data is very important. If it is not there in your data, that's totally fine. But handling time series data is one of the key part of machine learning models, because usually time series data is considered, considering based on your exact appropriate time for that specific feature. It's not actually a part of input feature, because it doesn't give you actually value to find out your target or target value. So either you remove the time data from your feature column, or you handle it properly with rolling window of aggregation, which is again one of the concept for training specific ML model. Yeah, that again, you won't find it in the AI Center. It is one of the models where you can actually use Python's basic, data handling, where you can handle this time series data as well. Now comes the part of data visualization, which is very, very important. So whenever you export your data, what usually we do, right? So usually what we do is we always visualize our data, we export and we test a couple of results of each and every, you can say classification. Let's take an example of classification model. If you have trained a classification model, for each and every classification field, you test a couple of data, like let's say 5 data each, right? And then what you do is you basically visualize and export that data into some kind of report and see what is the accuracy percentage for each type of a category. And then you decide whether your model is capable, it's ready to use or not, right? So based on that, you can actually do that. I'm talking about the trained models, okay? Not non-trained or already pre-trained models. It's only for the trained models. Also, some of you might be thinking that, we can use ChatGPT. We can use ChatGPT integration or GPT integration with UiPath using the integration services, which is one of the best part, which could be one of the best part for your project, right? And it is good. However, you have to also identify whether the use case which you have requires that GPT model to be trained on that specific topic. For example, let's take an example of a lawyer, okay? So for a law firm, if they want to review certain documents which they receive on a daily basis, and they want to extract a couple of entities out of the data, and for that, now they have decided to go on with the GPT integration, because they don't have enough time to actually go through, let's say, entity recognition model or maybe use communication mining, but they now decided to use GPT integration. But do GPT model know all the laws and relevant keywords and information? No. It might be chance that it might give you misleading information. So you might want to train that model. So in such cases, you can use your Microsoft Azure's OpenAI product, which actually can train a GPT model. And then integration with UiPath is very easy using your integration services, and you can actually deploy and use that within UiPath infrastructure, and you can actually showcase that if you have enough time. It's a time-consuming process, just to let you know again. So that is one more option for you. Now comes the part after data visualization. The most important is documentation. So you might have already seen that the requirements of the hackathon, right? So always UiPath hackathon, since I have been attending, it's always pretty structured. We have to always not only create project, but we have to submit code, we have to submit project, we have to also submit documentation, presentation, right, about your project. So when you submit documentation and presentation about your project, that is also a very big and huge impact when you submit it. So make sure when you create any documentation, you comprehensively mention everything about your AI model, ML model that you know, including any modifications required, transformations that you have done prior to the model train, imputations methods you have used prior to the model train. Mention that in the presentation, mention that in the documentation. That is very, very important, because that also counts as one of the points, right? That you have gone ahead and taken that extra efforts to do that, right? Then finally, error handling, that you can do within your UiPath workflow, because UiPath workflows are pretty much capable enough to handle all the try catch exceptions, everything. However, in case of any exceptions on the ML model, you have pretty descriptive logs on the AI center. So that actually gives you a very nice description, and you can very easily find any answer to that on UiPath forum, because there are a lot of answers and questions, which are already asked and probably solved there. Now, we have talked a lot about AI center enabled projects, right? Actually, when you think, again, majority of the AI enabled projects are DU projects. So what are the best practices that you can follow for DU? So I'll just go on a very high level, not too deep into that. Always make sure that whenever you plan to perform any DU project, which is AI enabled DU, where you are using ML model or you are using any AI center model for DU data extraction, always make sure your data quality assessment is done, which is called as the, you can say, input validations, or you can, again, the same thing, data quality assessment. So have you guys, any one of you have already worked on any DU projects, and do you know why data quality assessment is that much important? Anyone?
Guys, nobody? Okay, so nobody has worked on this kind of projects, DU projects before.
Okay, that's good. So that means this checkpoints are going to be very helpful for you. So there are very two key important things we do before any project of DU, which is data quality assessment and OCR benchmarking. Now, UiPath OCR pretty much capable of handling all the types of data, no matter it is scan data, handwritten data, SKU data, rotated data, right? So even if the data quality is low, it's still, I have seen UiPath OCR performing very well in that term, but still you have to perform OCR benchmarking, because sometimes the documents which you want to extract data from might not support that specific language. I mean, the OCR might not support that specific language. OCR might not support that specific format of the data, right? So you always need to perform OCR benchmarking, and along with that data quality assessment, where you actually have to verify whether your quality of the data, relevance of that information. For example, if you have PDF files, which are native PDF files, where the data can be very easily extracted by just using PDF activities, and you're still going ahead and doing document understanding, definitely in the finale or in the judging round, questions will be asked, why are you using document understanding if it is PDF activities supported, right? If it is very easily doable with the regular expression as well. So ask these questions before you use these models. Ask these questions to your team, ask these questions to yourself before you go ahead and start using AI in your project. That really is AI necessary here? And if it is necessary, have you done the checks? Have you done the checkpoints for data quality assessment? Have you done the checkpoint for OCR validation, or you can say OCR benchmarking? So once you have done that, then processing your data and cleaning your data. So clean your data, normalize your data, remove all the noises, again, outliers. Now, again, this is part of the document understanding, where you have to check if any of the file is encrypted. If it is encrypted, just remove it. Anyways, the data labeling will not accept encrypted files. But if you are not labeling, if you're using pre-trained models, always make sure that your data is not encrypted. Also, if your AI enabled, if your DU model, which is using any ML skill, is relevant to or related to only specific thing, which is like invoice, always use classification method to detect whether the document is invoice and then process with it. So like a couple of best practices that you can follow for your DU projects. Also, the best thing to use for your DU projects during the hackathon would be the DU framework. So UiPath has already given out a very beautiful DU framework where they have already handled pretty much every single thing. You just have to go there and add on the important points that you want to make change on. And that's all. You can comment the pieces, you can actually add on more pieces, and your project is ready. So just like RE framework, our conventional robotic enterprise framework, UiPath has launched document understanding framework a long back, and it is pretty much sufficient for any DU project that we have used, and it's very good. So make sure that you understand the model very well, and based on that, you use all the best practices of the DU framework. So within the DU framework, before you go to extraction results, make sure if you really need classification, or if you have entire robot built on top of your studio web, can you use Forms AI? Can you use document understanding as a service? Why not? So if you have guys not heard about it, UiPath document understanding is now also available as a service where you can literally call the APIs and you can actually use UiPath document understanding project, right? Capabilities, which is very good. And I also have one of YouTube video on that on my YouTube channel. Also, UiPath has a couple of nice documentations around it. On UiPath forum also, there's a detailed documentation around how to use document understanding as a service. So you can just go ahead and find that. And it's pretty easy if you are using any UiPath Studio web projects. So in that way, you don't even have to jump to Studio back just to accommodate document understanding within your code. Isn't that amazing? Next, so once you're trained, once your model is ready, everything is done for the DU models, then again, you have to make sure that your model validation and testing is correct. So include human in the loop. So leverage Action Center product. Just like a while back, Bobby asked a question that can I use data services product, right? So there are many products. You can use Action Center product. You can use data services. You can use any other product as well, which can support your use case and actually make up a nice and full packed solution where you consider not only the success cases, but you also consider the exception cases. And still you are using automation products to build that automation case. Also, if you want to build a full end-to-end product, why not also use UiPath apps? So use UiPath apps to trigger the robot, use document understanding or use Studio Web, let's say to create a background automation, or maybe let's say create project in Studio, use document understanding. And again, to handle the exceptions, use Action Center so that you can mitigate the exceptions as well. So it becomes an end-to-end automation solution. And finally, when the result comes up, you can again throw it back on the UiPath app, right? So that's one of the best things which you can actually do and you can understand. So like this is a full-fledged end-to-end problem statement using UiPath products. And that's where, if you remember, last year UiPath was saying it's a fully automated enterprise. It's because UiPath has all the products that are needed to create an end-to-end enterprise level automation solution. You don't need to actually go ahead and use any third party unless and until you have to. So overall for DU, you do that. And again, as I have mentioned, human intervention is very important in DU. Then if you get chance and if you know about it, you can also use a feedback loop, which is continuous learning improvement model, where your DU model is continuously improving based on your Action Center data corrected by users. That is a very, very good feature to have in the hackathon solution. That would literally give your solution robustness that you don't even need to touch your solution at a certain point, because it has now become so rigid, it learns on its own, right? And that's the amazing part of document understanding, because that actually allows you to use a feedback logic of the data which is being selected by the Action Center, which is again a continuous learning, continuous improvisation method, which is like just like a CI/CD, your model keeps on learning learning. And you can also periodically manage the training pipelines, and you can actually schedule training pipelines. If you have not heard about that, you can actually go to AI Center and you can schedule your training pipelines periodically. So that is just amazing. Again, one more awesome feature of UiPath document understanding. Then finally, for your hackathon solution, right? We have talked about AI Center, we have talked about document understanding. Let's talk about communication mining. So currently, communication mining is not being accessible for everyone. So that's where we are. You might not be able to use it. But just in case if you have access to communication mining, and if you would like to present something on that, that's still welcome. I believe that, right, Christina? So if somebody has access, if somebody wishes to do that,
yes.
Why not?
Yes, absolutely. Right? But it's not mandatory under the product category because it's not fully accessible to everyone. So only some part of the paid licenses have it.
Agreed.
So yeah, but communications mining, if you have access, yes, you are more than welcome to use it if you want to.
Agreed. And even if you want to showcase that your solution can be more better in future scope by using communications mining, why not mention that? So you don't have to literally mandatorily use communications mining, but you can actually showcase communications mining can be a part of this project in future scope if given licenses. And that would actually give you credibility. So always make sure that whenever you submit your project or presentation, always have a future scope slide, because future scope slide actually gives potential of your use case. If you have already implemented at some point, it's perfect, it's amazing. By the time if you get chance to implement that, get some credentials around it, amazing, nothing like that. But if you're not implemented, if you still want to make sure that the impact of the solution is very high, always make sure to have a future scope slide in your presentation. That helps a lot for judges, for everyone else to understand that this can be done in this project in future, currently not done because of the access or maybe time restriction or anything, right? But that is very, very important. Okay, now let's talk about Clipboard AI. So UiPath has again one more product, which is called as Clipboard AI, which is amazing product. And again, if you have access, why not use it, right? And if you don't have access, just mention that you can use Clipboard AI in this particular project going further to improvise the user experience, right? For citizen developers. So as Christina has already posted in comments, presentation for communication mining, you can actually go through that. There's a whole training also available on UiPath Academy, which is pretty much in depth about communications mining. You can actually go through that. I have also completed that. And apart from communications mining, apart from Clipboard AI, as I mentioned already, data service, document understanding as a service. Document understanding more detailed is now also available on the Insights. So on the Insights dashboard, now you have more features to display and create dashboard for document understanding usage. So if you have already established a project and now you're thinking how I can improvise my solution even more, why not use Insights? Why not showcase the data extraction points or the reports or the graphs on Insights for document understanding and create an insightful presentation where you actually have dashboard as well, right? I have seen many people using dashboards from third-party applications to demonstrate or to showcase the data. Why not use Insights? Insights is one of the UiPath products which can actually showcase a huge amount of data, no matter it is an AI-enabled product or not, but it actually has a lot of features, connectors with all the types of applications available on the cloud, right? So you can actually do that. And that would be amazing to see in the hackathon, right? That's one more thing. So we have talked about literally every product which is AI-enabled product of UiPath, right? And let's talk about integration services as well. So I have seen recently a couple of articles which are around integration of AWS with UiPath, integration of SageMaker with UiPath, because SageMaker has so many ML models. You can actually deploy them as an endpoint, as a service, and then that service, you create a connector in UiPath integration services and use that model as a service. And then just think about how fast you can actually get predictions rather than you have to actually deploy the model, export the model, maybe then redeploy it on somewhere else, right? Directly use a model as an integration. Why not? Because you have option to do that. So if you're wondering during this hackathon that we have a couple of models which are already trained, which we already have used, which you already know that it works very good with Amazon, AWS cloud platform, it works very well with SageMaker, it works very well with Azure cloud, just keep it there. Just deploy that model as an endpoint and then integrate with our UiPath integration services and utilize that model within UiPath. That will save huge amount of time for you. And at the same time, you can show the capability of AI-enabled project. Why not? So that's one more thing which I wanted to add based on the integration services. So I think pretty much we have last 5 minutes left, and I have almost covered all the products of UiPath which can actually deal with AI and which are AI enabled. So it's like end-to-end entire product is now AI enabled product. You don't even know where you are using AI within the product. But at the same time, when you actually want to make sure that your product or project that you submit is pretty much amazing, and it is very much relevant to the category of AI-powered automation solutions. If you can go through the link of the Hackathon HyperHack, it very clearly states with the AI and RPA, business can identify new opportunities, reduce cost, improvise productivity, right? And UiPath's AI suite of products help you to orchestrate all moving pieces of AI. So when we say UiPath's AI suite of products, we talk about all the products. It's not limited to only AI-centered document understanding, right? It talks about all the products like document understanding, AI Center, computer vision also, right? Task mining, as I've already mentioned. Then integrations of OpenAI, AWS SageMaker, Azure OpenAI model, right? And seamless combination of UI and API automation anytime welcome. Also, if you have integration points with the ChatGPT, which many of the people have already used, and it's again one of the best way to demonstrate the AI capabilities in the current situation, right? Because GPT has much more data points and very fast way of dealing with the data, raw data. So that's one more point which you can actually consider and use within your code. And I think on the hackathon side, Christina has already covered a lot of points on the training, on the participation rules and regulations. I do not want to again go back to that, but you can anytime ask any questions around that. And I think that's all from me.
Thank you very much, Nisarg. Let's see if there are any questions now after this very nice presentation on best practices, also segmented by product. Really appreciate it, Nisarg. Very beautiful presentation and walk through the entire product offering in the category. So guys, let us know if you have any questions now, or what are the products you are planning to use. And maybe whether you have a question regarding your use case or the combination of that products, or okay, nobody.
Oh, I see Mayank is there. Hi, Mayank, if you're there.
Hey, hi, Nisarg.
Hi. So,
Hi, Christina.
hi everyone.
Hello, Mayank.
I work with Mayank in Singapore, and Mayank also has a vast experience in AI and DU category. So, Mayank, you have any questions, any points for the teams that are participating?
Yeah, I mean, I think both you and Shankar spoke very well. I think gave very good pointers for the team. I mean, I think one of the things, I don't know whether you said or Shankar said, but frankly, it looks a bit daunting, but actually it's not, right?
Right.
Whether the use of document understanding or integrations with OpenAI or Azure OpenAI, actually there's a lot of useful cases. I mean, I think the use cases that were presented by Shankar, I think they are a good start, right? I think it kind of gives everybody an idea of what can be done. So think of something that is useful from real life, and apply these tools. And I think there's definitely a lot of help available on the forums on how to get about doing it. And there's so many experts who are happy to help. So I think it's more about just getting your hands dirty, think of an idea, and getting ready for the HyperHack.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's true. And there are a lot of examples on the forum, and also, as Nisarg said, a lot on YouTube as well. I will just share a bit, because Nisarg said also an important fact about the availability. When I thought about it, about the availability of communications mining. Yes, it's true, it's not available to everyone, but you can still feature it in your project as this, because once you see the potential and how it can be integrated in your project, you can just feature it there without actually applying it, and then to make it part of the final solution. So I will just walk you a bit now, because I think this is equally important about where you can actually find the resources to train yourself in the missing points from this presentation. So I gave you some links on communications mining and document understanding only in the chat, but the truth is that main channels you should use, of course, we have Nisarg's channel here I gave you already a filtered link, but I will give you, let's say, the main channel link, which is this one. Let's just pause this like. Wait.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I can also put it in the chat. Oh, if you have already handy, it's fine.
Yeah, I have it here. So we will just let me move this. Is it working? Okay. Can copy it. So this is Nisar's channel. You can use it as inspiration and search for document understanding or AI Center in the channel. Of course, the other two channels you should use is the UiPath channel, where you can search for all the product demos and presentations. We have a lot, so use this fully. And we also, of course, have the UiPath community channel, which you will see here in a minute. This is the UiPath community channel, where we also have links to all the community sessions and the dev dive sessions as well, which covered also communications mining. I already gave you the list for the dev dive session on communications mining, which was really good. So you have all these YouTube resources to empower yourself on and watch product demos and also use cases. And then, of course, you have the UiPath Academy. I gave you the link for the course, which is only 1 hour on communications mining, the overview. But you can, of course, search the other courses as well. This one, okay, let's go like this. Okay, so feel free to join Academy every time. And then Forum, of course, Forum is an entire, like this whole area filled with resources, use cases. You will have the whole threads there. Many of the challenges you might face might have been already addressed on Forum. So go to Forum each time you feel like you have a question unanswered or you're missing a point in the journey you're embarking on. So if you have something missing from the scenario or a question about the product, just go to Forum, or if you don't find it on Forum, go directly on the HyperHack thread as a last resource and ask the question there, and we'll be there to support you. And because we also have like evaluators, enablers for the HyperHack, and we are watching the Forum thread daily for questions and challenges you might face. So that is the dedicated thread for you. You also have it in the chat. So go through the chat links now, take whatever you might think it will be useful for you. You will also find many of them on the HyperHack page. You will also have a recording from this session. There will be, I will also attach the deck, the short deck that Shankar presented in the beginning with the industry and the use cases. So you have an inspiration, as Mayank said. And let's see if there really are no questions at this point, because there are not so many of you. So I'm curious, like how many of you have already formed teams? How many of you have registered and already have formed the team? And
I've already registered, but I'm just myself.
That's good enough. So it's no problem. One man show is also welcome, Bobby. So no problem. But of course, you still have time to get a team. Yeah. If you want. So it's not mandatory for you to participate as a team. Every individual is welcome to participate as well. So how about Priya? Cesar, have you registered? Priya, I see you unmuted yourself, but we can't hear you. Okay. Well, I hope that each of you will register and you found this session. No, you're not audible, Priya. I don't know why. Maybe there's something wrong with the connection of the microphone. But I hope you found this session encouraging and supportive, and at least it will help you, like if you haven't registered yet, to gain more courage and register and feel more empowered to participate in the HyperHack, because this is the whole point. Okay, so I've seen Priya is writing to us in the chat. Okay, this is great to hear. Okay. Yeah, And maybe, yes, if there are like specific needs which we will see on forum, maybe we will have another. I know there is another enablement session planned. We will see when we publish it. If not, the forum thread is your main weapon now. So the forum and the forum thread leading up to the HyperHack project submission. So registration, of course, it's easy. Anyone can register until July 14th. But then the main target is for you to submit the project until July 21st. And as Mayank also said, like it might look a bit scary now, a bit complicated, but when you start getting your hands dirty and get into actually designing your solution, it's not as scary. So we strongly encourage you to try. We placed all the weapons in front of you, all documentation, all the enablement is there. And this is the best way also to learn and try and see what the others will have to put forward as well. Thank you, Mayank, for the encouragement. Okay, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you very much, Nisar, for all the support you're showing us. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
See you soon.
bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone, and good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.